Hi, this is Kevin from Passion for the Word. We're in beautiful Red River Gorge, Kentucky, and we're on the Sky Bridge. It's a natural bridge. This is a formation that I think it has some biblical importance. Sedimentary layers are all over the world, and the difference between evolutionists and creationists is evolutionists say they took millions of years to lay down, whereas the creationist says they all took place in the flood. As you can see, we've got some absolutely stunning scenery here all around us. I'm going to show you something underneath this rock. We're on a giant rock here. You can see we're standing on it. And there's some neat formations below that I think defy any possibility of these sedimentary layers taking millions of years to deposit. Let's go take a look. There's the bridge we just walked across. Now here you can definitely see we're dealing with sedimentary rock. These layers are laid down one at a time, one on top of each other. You can see the form of them. The difference is the evolutionists will say these layers took millions of years, whereas the creationists will say they took a matter of months or weeks during the flood. And here we have more obviously sedimentary layers being laid down. You can see the horizontal nature of them. Big question is, were they laid down over millions of years or weeks or months? And yet more sedimentary layers laid down. You can definitely see the way these were laid down. We won't reach in there. Something could be living in there very easily. And now we begin some of the difficulties for the evolutionist to answer. If these layers are millions of years old, explain those ripple patterns. Those ripple patterns deny the possibility that these were laid down over millions of years. If you look right there, you can see this right there underneath my finger. It's up there a ways. I don't know if I can get, I'll see if I can get closer to it. Okay, you can see that was soft mud squished out from the layers above it. It squished and oozed out. You can even see the marks in it as it was pressed out. More of the wave patterns. I'd love to have someone explain to me how that swirl right there was organized in millions of years. And if you take a look, you can see this rock is rather brittle. Look at all the rubble at the bottom. Look at the rubble underneath there. I think it's safe to say I don't think this formation could be millions of years old, just by virtue of the fact that it would not have held up. There's a few things that I wanted to cover that go along with this video. I want to apologize. The pictures we're going to show up here, a little blurry. You can only expand things out so far before you lose digitation. What is it? The pixels. You lose too many pixels. And we've lost some pixels, but You can go back to the video and see these things maybe a little bit more clear, but I wanted to put them up here on the screen so I could show you. The first thing I mentioned in the video is that the elevation. The exact elevation there is 1,120 feet. That's above sea level. Right in that area, it just within a quarter mile of there's areas that drop down to 700 feet. You've got 400 feet of elevation. We're at the top of a mountain. If this were an event, these sedimentary layers were something that were laid down literally millions of years ago. When you look at the rubble at the bottom of the hill formation there, there's no way that could have been that old. The rock there in the sedimentary layers, they're soft. You can go up there and kind of work them with your fingers, and actually it takes very little to break away at them. There's no way they could have held their shape for millions of years. There's no way this took millions of years it was at the bottom of an ocean and then rose up to its elevation. Those layers were laid where they're at, and then the erosion and everything else wore the stuff around them away in a brief amount of time. I'm going to contend this is evidence. Which one was that? This is all evidence of the flood. We have mysterious noises going on. So we're going to go into some detail over some of these pictures that I wanted to show you. This first one, this is a wide angle view. We're going to discuss this formation here a little bit more in more detail. You can see some kind of soil was laid down here. I'm not sure what. Don't pretend to know. But you can see these layers that they try to say were laid down over millions of years. These layers were laid down in a relatively short amount of time after this was laid down. And then the weight from these layers upon that squished this out. We'll zoom in on this here in just a minute. The other one that we're going to show is, I'll get my glasses on, put my eyes on. It's this area right here. You can definitely see the layers that they were laid down. But if you want to pretend that those were millions of years, you've got a bigger imagination than Walt Disney had. These were laid down all about the same time. You couldn't have, this would not have lasted millions of years before the next layer came down on top of it and the layer on top of that. This was still soft when these layers came down on top of it. Now in this one right here, you can really, in this close-up, you can see this was a different kind of rock or a different kind of mud than these layers here. This is sandier. This is more of a clay-type mud. If you can see it clearly, you'll even see there's a stone that as the mud was squishing out, it created a groove in the mud behind it. Imagine taking clay mud in your hand, wet clay mud, and squeezing it as it oozes out. That's what's going on here as the weight of the layers above it. I think it'd be neat to find out how deep this goes. And then this one here, this is the close-up of, we're going to back up here in a minute. This is, I believe, this section right here. That's a swirl. That is, if you picture the whole scenario, you've got water from the flood coming and going, creating swirl patterns. You've got all these swirl patterns. This just, it speaks of motion of water. It does not speak of millions of years of layers and sedimentation. I hope you find this interesting. This is down in the Red River Gorge, Kentucky. You can go see this for yourself. It's Sky Bridge. Thank you and God bless.